Chosen ones. Someone's on their knees right now, begging God for a clean slate with you. Desperate prayers rising like smoke from a burning bridge they torched themselves. But here's the cosmic plot twist that's about to shatter their entire reality. Every game they thought you were playing, every manipulation they swore you orchestrated, every shadow move they defended against, you never made a single one. They've been in the ring alone, fighting phantoms, exhausting themselves against an opponent who was never even there. The revelation waiting at the end of this story will flip everything. But first, let me show you how deep this rabbit hole goes, because what's about to unfold in your life is bigger than just one person's delusion. The energy around this situation is dense, like something that wants to be seen but keeps fragmenting every time light touches it. There's someone in your field right now who only understood after the fact that they were playing a game that was only insinuated between you and them. After everything was said and done, after moves were made and positions taken, they realized with crushing clarity that you weren't actually in the ring with them. The source of who whispered these lies into their ear wants to stay hidden, but that shadow is about to be dragged into the light whether they're ready or not. This person knew deep down in their bones that something was off. You could have said something directly to them. You could have had an open dialogue. And honestly, they weren't expecting that. Their whole strategy depended on you staying silent, on you assuming fault elsewhere and just moving away like you always did before. They counted on your pattern of taking the high road, meaning you'd never call out the game directly. But you broke that pattern. You shattered it into a million pieces, and that's when their whole house of cards started falling. This could be anyone in your life. A friend who's been secretly competing while pretending to support. A co-worker who's been undermining while smiling in meetings. A relationship partner who's been playing chess while pretending you're both playing checkers. But whoever they are, you broke the pattern that they were counting on. And only after something was spoken, only after you brought truth into the light, did they realize what they'd been doing. The mirror you held up didn't show your reflection, it showed theirs, and they didn't recognize the person staring back. The recognition hit them in waves, each one more devastating than the last. First disbelief that they could have been so wrong, then panic at the implications of their misunderstanding, then a crushing, overwhelming shame that feels like wearing a coat made of lead. They realized they'd been participating in something beneath them, something they actively criticized others for doing. While they were pointing fingers at everyone else for playing games, they were deep in gameplay themselves. They thought they were better than the collective, judging everyone else's manipulations and strategies from their self-appointed throne of superiority, while simultaneously playing the exact game they claimed to hate. Someone had been working behind your back, painting pictures of you that weren't true. This wasn't random gossip or casual misunderstanding. This was intentional, calculated, designed to turn specific people against you, telling this person that you were bringing them up to put them down, suggesting you were comparing them to others and finding them lacking, creating a narrative where you were the puppet master and they were fighting for their independence. These lies were so carefully crafted, so perfectly aimed at their specific insecurities, that they swallowed them whole without questioning the source. The manipulation was masterful in its precision. Every interaction you had with this person was filtered through a lens someone else had placed over their eyes. When you were kind, they saw manipulation. When you were distant, they saw strategy. When you were simply living your life, they saw calculated moves designed to diminish them. The puppet master behind this knew exactly which strings to pull to make them dance, and dance they did. But then something unexpected happened. You didn't follow the script they'd been given about you. Instead of operating in shadows like they were told you would, you stepped into the light with such brightness it burned away all the false narratives. Maybe you made a post that laid everything bare. Maybe you had a conversation where you simply stated facts without drama or manipulation. Maybe you just started living so authentically that the lies became impossible to maintain. Whatever you did, it was like throwing water on the wicked witch. The illusion melted, and what was left was the truth they'd been avoiding. When you illuminated the situation, when you refused to participate in the shadow game they thought you were playing, this person experienced something they'll never forget. In that moment of clarity, They wanted to burst open with confession. Every cell in their body screamed to apologize, to explain, to make things right immediately. The truth was right there on their tongue, ready to spill out like water breaking through a dam. For a moment, just a fleeting moment, they almost became the person they were meant to be. But they held back. Pride wrapped its fingers around their throat like a snake that's been living in their chest their whole life. Their self-esteem, which had been so high when they started this game with you, was now in shambles. They realized that while they were judging you for playing games, they were the only one playing. While they were defending against your supposed manipulations, you weren't even aware a game was happening. The humiliation was too much to bear. So instead of stepping forward into truth and reconciliation, they stepped backward into preservation mode. They felt like they needed to protect what was left of their dignity, not realizing that confession would have restored it while silence would destroy it. This was the test, and they failed it spectacularly. Not because they played a game, but because when given the chance to stop playing, they chose to continue. The universe was watching this moment carefully, taking notes, adjusting the cosmic ledger. This wasn't just about your dynamic with them. This was about who they choose to be when faced with their own shadow. Do they own it and transform it, or do they deny it and let it own them? They chose denial, and that choice has consequences that are already rippling through their reality, like cracks spreading through glass. While this person struggles with their self-created prison, something extraordinary is approaching your life. The universe abhors a vacuum, and the space being cleared by their inability to show up authentically is about to be filled with something that will make you understand why everything had to happen exactly as it did. This isn't just compensation for what you've been through, it's revelation of what was always meant for you but couldn't arrive while false energies were blocking the door. There's an energy approaching. Could be a person, could be an opportunity, but most likely it's both wrapped into one divine package that's going to change everything you thought you knew about connection. This incoming force is approaching from their own crossroads, their own battles with illusion and truth. But here's the key difference that changes everything. They won. They faced their own shadows, owned their own projections, and came out the other side with clarity and authenticity intact. They did the work the other person refused to do, and because of that they can see you clearly. The meeting point between you and this new energy is already set, written in the stars before either of you were born. It's going to feel like fate, but it's actually the result of both of you doing your inner work, clearing your fields, refusing to participate in games that diminish your light. This could manifest as someone entering through a work project that suddenly becomes more than work. A community initiative where your souls recognize each other before your minds catch up. A creative collaboration that turns into something neither of you expected. Or what seems like a chance encounter that's anything but chance, where the universe orchestrates a meeting so perfect you'll know it wasn't random. The moment you meet, recognition will be instant and undeniable. Not recognition of faces, but recognition of souls who've been through the same refiner's fire. You'll look at each other and see the same exhaustion from fighting other people's projections, the same relief at finding someone who sees clearly, the same readiness to engage authentically, without the games, without the masks, without the elaborate defensive strategies you've both had to develop to survive in a world full of projection. This new person or opportunity has been dealing with their own version of what you've experienced. They've been painted as the villain in someone else's story, had their kindness interpreted as manipulation, their distance as cruelty, their boundaries as rejection. They've been accused of playing games they weren't playing, of having agendas they never had, of orchestrating dramas they weren't even aware of. They've been fighting other people's projections of them, exhausting themselves trying to prove they're not the monster someone else needed them to be. But instead of getting lost in the house of mirrors, they found the exit. They chose truth over perception, authenticity over approval, their own knowing over someone else's narrative about them. When this new energy enters your life, the person who's been fighting phantoms is going to see it happen. They're going to watch someone or something step into your life without hesitation, without the paranoia and projections they brought to the table. This new energy is going to see you clearly from day one. No filters, no false narratives, no puppet master whispering lies in their ear, and the contrast is going to be devastating for the one who chose illusion over truth. It's going to be like watching someone else live the life they could have had if they'd just chosen differently. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. Because what's happening isn't just personal, it's collective. The veils are being lifted globally. The projections are being exposed universally. Those who've been fighting imaginary versions of us are being forced to see that they've been alone in the ring the entire time. This is happening to chosen ones everywhere right now, and your story is part of a massive cosmic correction that's taking place. The person who failed your test is about to experience something that will haunt them for the rest of their life. They're going to watch this new energy claim the place they could have had if they'd just chosen truth. Not claim it aggressively or competitively, but claim it naturally, like water finding its level, like a key sliding into the lock it was made for. This new person or opportunity won't have to fight for position in your life, because they'll fit perfectly into the space created for them, a space that exists because someone else chose fear over love. Every interaction you have with this new energy is going to highlight what was wrong with the old dynamic. Where there was suspicion, there will be trust so natural you won't even think about it. Where there was projection, there will be clarity so pure it'll feel like breathing clean air after years of smoke. Where there was game playing, there will be authentic connection so real it'll make you realize just how fake everything before it was. The person who imagined you were playing games is going to watch you thrive in an environment free from the very games they brought to the table, and the irony is going to burn them like acid. They're going to want to insert themselves back into your story. The urge will become overwhelming as they watch you flourish without them. They'll feel like their history with you should count for something, like the time they've known you should translate into another chance. They'll start believing that their seniority in your life gives them some kind of priority access to the new version of you that's emerging. But time without truth is just wasted opportunity. History without authenticity is just a collection of lies. They're going to learn that connection isn't about duration but about depth, and they chose to remain shallow when depth was offered, chose to splash in the kiddie pool while you were inviting them to dive deep. Here's where the story gets even more complex, where the web reveals itself to be bigger than just one person's delusion. This person isn't operating in isolation. They're connected to someone who's done you real harm, not just misunderstanding or miscommunication, but genuine intentional damage. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing when they moved against you. This connection might be a friendship that clouds their judgment, a family bond that blinds them to truth, or a romantic entanglement that makes them defend the indefensible. But whatever it is, it's binding them to someone whose karma is coming due with compound interest, and that association is about to cost them more than they could have imagined. This other person, the one who truly wronged you, is desperately trying to give their life to God as a bypass for accountability. They're making grand spiritual gestures that look impressive from the outside, but are hollow at the core. Joining religious organizations with great fanfare, taking vows that sound beautiful but mean nothing without genuine repentance, making public displays of transformation that are all performance, no substance, but every time they close their eyes to pray, they see your face. Every time they try to meditate their way to peace, they hear the universe saying the same thing over and over like a broken record they can't turn off. Make it right with them first. No shortcuts. No divine pardons without earthly accountability. No peace without justice. No moving forward without clearing what's behind. For some of you, this person might even be facing mortality in some way. Maybe it's a diagnosis that has them counting days instead of years, measuring life in moments instead of decades. Maybe it's consequences catching up that threaten everything they've built. A house of cards in a hurricane. They're terrified that their legacy will be one of destruction rather than construction, that they'll be remembered for who they hurt rather than who they helped. The weight of unfinished business with you is literally killing them, but still their pride won't let them make things right. They'd rather die wrong than live humbled. The person seeking a clean slate with you is caught in this web, stuck like a fly watching the spider approach. They're energetically tied to someone whose refusal to take accountability is poisoning everyone in their orbit. They're starting to understand that defending this person, believing their narrative about you, participating in the campaign against you, has attached them to karma that isn't even originally theirs. They're carrying someone else's spiritual debt like a cosigner on a loan they didn't understand they were signing, and the interest is accumulating faster than they can pay. This is why their prayers feel hollow, echoing in empty chambers instead of reaching the divine. This is why spiritual practices bring them no peace, why meditation feels like sitting in thorns instead of on clouds. They're trying to wash their hands while standing in mud. They're trying to find light while protecting someone else's darkness. They're trying to claim cleanliness while covered in someone else's dirt. The universe is showing them that you can't claim purity while standing in a cesspool, can't claim clarity while wearing someone else's dirty glasses, can't claim truth while repeating someone else's lies. Every opportunity this person had with you was actually the same test in different clothing, the same question asked in different languages. Would they choose to see you clearly, or through someone else's lens? Would they trust their own instincts about you or someone else's narrative? Would they choose connection with you or alliance with those who oppose you? Each time they failed the same test in a different way, like a student who keeps failing the same class no matter how many times they retake it. The first time, they chose suspicion over curiosity. Instead of asking you directly about something they heard, they chose to believe the whispers, to let poison drip into their ear without questioning the source. The second time, they chose pride over vulnerability. When they could have admitted they were wrong, they doubled down on the false narrative, adding their own elaborations to someone else's lies. The third time, and this was the final one, they chose self-preservation over transformation. When you illuminated the truth, when you held up the mirror, they could have stepped into it with you, but they chose to retreat into shadows, to close their eyes rather than see clearly. Now they're realizing that what felt like multiple chances was actually one extended opportunity to choose differently, and they consistently chose wrong. Not wrong in a moral sense, but wrong in the sense of choosing against their own highest good, their own evolution, their own chance at authentic connection. They chose the path that led away from growth, away from truth, away from you, and toward an isolation of their own making. The new energy entering your life has passed these same tests with flying colors. They've been offered false narratives about people and chosen to investigate for themselves, to trust their own eyes over someone else's description. They've been given opportunities to hide behind pride and chosen vulnerable truth instead, even when it cost them everything. They've been presented with the choice between self-preservation and transformation, and they chose to transform even when it meant losing everything they thought they were, everyone they thought they needed, everywhere they thought they belonged. As this new energy gets closer to manifesting in your physical reality, the spiritual pressure is building like storm clouds gathering before lightning strikes. The person who wants a clean slate with you can feel something shifting, even if they don't know what. They're having dreams about you that wake them up at 3 a.m., covered in sweat, heart racing with truths they can't face in daylight. They're seeing signs and synchronicities that all point back to you, your name appearing everywhere, your favorite songs playing on repeat, memories of you flooding in at the most inconvenient times. They're feeling an urgency they can't explain, a knowing that time is running out for something they can't quite name, but can feel slipping through their fingers like sand. Meanwhile, you're being prepared for this new chapter in ways you might not even recognize yet. Every challenge you've faced, every projection you've had to defend against, every false narrative you've had to live through, has been preparing you for what's coming. You've developed discernment that can spot a false narrative from miles away, like a lighthouse cutting through fog. You've built boundaries that can withstand any attempt at manipulation, walls that protect without imprisoning. You've cultivated self-trust that no external voice can shake, and knowing so deep that no lie can reach it. The person connected to your past is about to witness your rise, and it's going to trigger something primal in them, something that goes beyond thought to pure instinct. Not love, not hate, but regret so profound it rewrites their entire understanding of what happened between you. They're going to see you receive the very thing they thought they were protecting themselves from, genuine, clear, unconditional recognition of your worth. And they're going to realize that by protecting themselves from an imaginary threat, they protected themselves from real love. They thought they were protecting themselves from being diminished by you, but they were actually diminishing themselves by not seeing you clearly. They thought they were avoiding being played, but they were playing themselves in an elaborate single-player game. They thought they were maintaining their power, but they were giving it all away to whoever was whispering lies in their ear, becoming a puppet without even realizing someone else was pulling the strings. The moment is approaching when this new energy fully enters your life, and when it does, it's going to create a collision of realities that everyone in your orbit will feel. The person seeking a clean slate is going to watch you step into a dynamic that makes everything they put you through look like exactly what it was: unnecessary drama based on complete fiction, a soap opera they wrote, directed and starred in alone while you were living in reality. This new person or opportunity is going to see you immediately and completely, not the you that others have described, not the you that's been filtered through jealousy and projection, not the you that's been distorted through fear and insecurity, but the actual you. The recognition will be so instant, so complete, so undeniable, that it will serve as evidence of just how wrong everyone else has been. It will be proof that you were never the problem. The problem was always the lenses others chose to see you through, the stories they needed to tell themselves about you to justify their own behavior. The person who imagined you were playing games is going to watch you in a dynamic with zero gameplay, and it's going to break something inside them that can never be repaired. They're going to realize that all the exhaustion they felt in your connection wasn't from your games but from their own shadowboxing. All the drama wasn't from your manipulation, but from their own projection. All the conflict wasn't from your actions, but from their own internal war. They were fighting themselves the entire time and blaming you for their bruises. In this moment of recognition, they're going to want to reach out desperately. The urge will be overwhelming, consuming, keeping them up at night. They'll craft message after message, each one trying to thread the needle between taking accountability and saving face. They'll write novels of explanation that they'll delete before sending. They'll record voice messages they'll never have the courage to deliver. But every message will feel wrong because they're still trying to have it both ways. They want forgiveness without full confession. They want restoration without real accountability. They want to return to your life without admitting they never should have left, that they left for reasons that existed only in their imagination. But here's the divine comedy in all of this, chosen one, the cosmic joke that's actually brilliant in its simplicity, the clean slate they're begging God for. You've already given it to them without them even knowing, not through words or actions but through complete indifference. You've moved on so thoroughly that their name doesn't even create a ripple in your emotional field anymore. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And your indifference is the clean slate they're seeking. They just don't recognize it because they were expecting drama, expecting you to fight for them, expecting you to care enough to be angry. They were prepared for your anger, ready with defenses against your retaliation, armed with justifications for your bitterness. They had responses ready for your accusations, explanations prepared for your questions, strategies developed for your resistance. But you gave them none of that. You simply moved forward like they were a chapter in a book you've already finished reading. Not a chapter you're angry at, not a chapter you want to rewrite, not a chapter you even think about, just a chapter that's done, complete, closed, part of a story you've already lived and left behind. The new energy in your life doesn't even know this person exists, and that's perfect. You're not bringing baggage into this new connection because you've already unpacked it, sorted through it, and donated what no longer serves you to the universe's recycling program. You're not carrying their weight because you set it down and walked away. This new chapter starts fresh, clean, unburdened by the projections and false narratives of the past. It's like walking into a house you've never been in before, but somehow knowing exactly where everything is, feeling at home in a way you never did in familiar places. The person who thought you were playing games is learning the ultimate lesson, the one that will reshape their entire understanding of relationships. When you project onto others, you're really just revealing yourself. Every game they thought you were playing was a game happening inside their own mind. Every manipulation they defended against was their own manipulative tendency projected outward. Every shadow they fought was cast by their own light, being blocked by their own obstacles. They were reading a book they wrote themselves and convinced themselves you were the author. Some of them will find the courage to admit this, eventually, maybe years from now, when the pain has dulled enough for truth to emerge. They'll send that message that simply says, "I was wrong about everything. You were never who I thought you were. That was all me, my fears, my projections, my games. I'm sorry." And when they do, if they do, you'll receive it with grace, but not with reopened doors. Because forgiveness doesn't mean restoration. Sometimes forgiveness means releasing someone to find their own path while you continue on yours. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the freedom to live with their choices while you live freely despite them. Remember how this began. Someone begging God for a clean slate with you. Desperate prayers rising from the ashes of bridges they burned themselves. Now you see the full picture in all its cosmic irony. They were never praying for forgiveness from you. They were praying for escape from themselves. They were never seeking a clean slate with you. They were seeking a clean slate from the mirror that facing you would force them to look into. They wanted God to absolve them so they wouldn't have to absolve themselves. Wanted divine intervention to avoid human accountability. The games they thought you were playing were projections of their own gameplay, elaborate strategies they created and assigned to you. The manipulation they defended against was their own manipulative nature reflected back at them, their own shadows dancing on the wall. The shadows they fought were cast by their own refusal to stand in the light, their own choice to remain in darkness while accusing you of blocking their sun. You never played with them, because you were never playing at all. You were simply being, and your being exposed their doing. Your authenticity revealed their performance. Your truth exposed their lies. The new energy entering your life proves what was always true. You attract what you are, not what you want. When you were surrounded by those who projected games onto you, it wasn't because you were playing games, but because you hadn't yet fully claimed your refusal to play. Now that you've broken that pattern, now that you've stepped completely out of the ring, now that you've refused to participate in illusions, you're attracting others who also refuse to play. Like attracts like, truth attracts truth, authenticity attracts authenticity. This person will continue begging God for what God keeps telling them to get from you directly. But approaching you would mean admitting the complete fiction they've been living. It would mean acknowledging that every defensive move they made was against an opponent who wasn't there. It would mean facing the fact that they exhausted themselves in an imaginary war while you were simply living your life in peace. It would mean admitting they were the author, director, and sole actor in a drama you never auditioned for. The clean slate they want already exists. It's the same clean slate you started with, the one they covered with their own projections and false narratives, their own fears and insecurities. You never made a mark on it, because you never engaged with the game they were playing. The slate was always clean. They just couldn't see it through the dirt on their own glasses, the fog of their own making, the smoke from bridges they burned while standing on them. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something. But talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today, join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks, and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Here's what the universe wants you to understand through all of this, chosen one, the final revelation that changes everything. Your refusal to play games others project onto you is your superpower. Your commitment to truth in a world of illusions is your gift. Your ability to remain centered while others spin in their own projections is your mastery. You didn't win because you played better. You won because you refused to play at all. And that refusal, that simple choice to not engage with illusions, is what's attracting the real connections that are entering your life now. The person seeking a clean slate with you will eventually understand that the only slate that needed cleaning was their own perception. The games they thought existed were single-player campaigns in their own mind. The opponent they prepared for, strategized against and defended from, was never you. It was always their own shadow, their own fear, their own unhealed trauma, looking for a target. You just happened to be standing in the vicinity when they needed someone to blame for the war inside themselves. You, meanwhile, are stepping into connections with people who see clearly from the start. No games because no one's playing. No manipulation because everyone's authentic. No shadows because everyone's standing in their own light. The contrast between what was and what's coming is so stark that it serves as proof of what was always true. You were never the problem. You were never the game player. You were never the manipulator. You were simply yourself, and that was too bright for eyes that had adjusted to darkness. The person who imagined it all will have to live with that recognition for the rest of their days. Every success you achieve without them, every authentic connection you make in their absence, every blessing that flows to you effortlessly now that they're not there to block it, will be evidence of what they lost through their own projection, not evidence you're providing vindictively, just evidence that exists by you living your truth unapologetically. Their prayers for a clean slate will eventually be answered, but not in the way they expect. The slate will be cleaned by time, distance, and their own eventual growth. One day, maybe years from now, when their ego has finally exhausted itself, when they've run out of people to blame, when they've projected onto enough others to finally see the pattern, they'll look back and see clearly what you saw all along. There was never a game, there was never manipulation, there was never anything but their own imagination creating demons where none existed. But by then you'll be so far along your path that this whole situation will feel like something that happened to a different version of you. Because in a way it did. The you that emerged from this is not the you that entered it. You've been refined, purified, clarified. You've learned to spot projection from a distance. You've learned to trust your own perception over others' narratives. You've learned that refusing to play is the ultimate victory. You've learned that indifference is the highest form of power. You've learned that the best revenge is no revenge at all, just success that speaks for itself. The clean slate they're begging for? It's not yours to give because you never wrote on it in the first place. The games they thought you played? They were solo campaigns that required no opponent. The manipulation they defended against? It was their own shadow puppetry that they mistook for your movements. You never played with them. They imagined it all. And now as you step forward into connections with those who see clearly, who engage authentically, who refuse to play games that don't exist, you can see the truth that was always there. You were never in the ring. You were always free. And that freedom is what they're really begging for. The freedom you've always had because you never gave it away to games that existed only in someone else's imagination. The freedom to be yourself without apology. The freedom to exist without defending your existence. The freedom to be seen clearly by those who have eyes to see. Walk forward, chosen one. Your real story is beginning with people who see reality as clearly as you do. The person begging for a clean slate will find it eventually, but it won't come from you or from God. It will come from finally admitting they were fighting alone the entire time, and that admission, when it finally comes, will be their liberation from the prison they built, locked themselves in, and then blamed you for constructing. The slate is clean. It always was. Now go write your real story with people who can read what's actually there, not what they imagine in their fear. Go create with those who create, rather than project. Go love with those who love rather than suspect. Go live with those who are alive rather than performing life. The stage is set, the lights are on, and for the first time everyone in your scene is reading from the same script, the one written in truth rather than fear. The one where no one's playing games because everyone's too busy being